everyone. Welcome to the second Master Plan Open House for the Valemount Glacier Destinations Resort Proposal Project. My name is Bill Hunter. I'm the Director of Mountain Operations for the Mountain Resorts Branch. We're based in Kamloops, and I'm here with two of my counterparts, Drew Freimeyer and Reg Nolander. The purpose of tonight's open house, feedback, is to really go through the master plan review process and share some new information with you, show the results of our process and our work with the Simpcw First Nation, the proponent and stakeholders, and lots of public agency representatives. We've been working on different issues related to road access and environmental impact studies. We'll share that with you tonight. And we're also accepting comments tonight in paper form. We've got some paper comment forms in the back corner, and also by email, and our contact information will be up on the screen here. We're not going to hold a town hall style question and answer period tonight. We want to allow for more time with the visual information and some direct discussion with folks. So we're going to go through this presentation and then be around the room available for discussion and questions. I'd like to start with introductions with the agencies that we've been working with and the Simpcw First Nation. But first I'll say I want to recognize that we're on the traditional territory of the Simpcw First Nation, and we wish to thank Chief Nathan Matthew for having us here. Chief Nathan Matthew is here from the Simpcw First Nation, and Councillor Jules Phillip. We have folks from the village of Valemount who have been providing us with a venue every time we come up here and speak with you, and have been very supportive of the review process. Silvio Gislamberti is here tonight. And the proponent group is here with Tom Oberti, Mike Leahy, Jill Bodkin, and Oberto Oberti. So we've got lots of folks here to talk with you and answer any questions that you may have. I'll just give, before we get into a slideshow presentation, I'll just invite Chief Nathan up, and he can provide some words on behalf of the Simpcw.
It is truly an honor to be here among fellow citizens of this very incredible place. Like you, we live in a country that's protective of people's rights. Canada is quite a neat place to live in, and like you, we have rights to live here. For us, we have a right to live as First Nations people within our traditional territories, under our own laws, guided by our own people. And this is part of our northern territory. We're the Simpcw people. We're Secwepemc or Shuswap, and our territory is very, very large in the interior of the province. And our territory goes from just on the other side of McBride, the other side of Jasper, down to the Big Bend of the Columbia, and down as far just about 20 kilometers this side of Kamloops. So as a division within the Secwepemc Nation, we have a very large traditional division within that nation. And as you all know, or should know, that we have rights that are protected under the Constitution, and those rights change as the Supreme Court makes decisions. And one of the rights that we have to the land is to be able to use and benefit from the land, and to be part of the decision making over the land, and we can benefit from it economically, and we can use it for traditional purposes. So I'm the elected leader of our First Nation, and certainly, the project that we're talking about tonight, we've been on board with it and we've become familiar with it right from the beginning because the proponents were very open and inviting to us and came to us to say that they wanted to do it and they wanted to make sure that we were part of the process. So we're more than pleased to be part of the process. We've been up in this area a fair bit doing other kinds of things, and I was last year, I think in 2011, when we had an economic development strategy, and one of the priorities there for this corridor was an international ski destination development, and we thought that was just fine. So we're on board. Our environmental company has worked on the environmental aspects and the environmental review, so we're very familiar with the wildlife and other environmental aspects to the project. And so there's nothing there that we believe that can't be mitigated in terms of disturbance to land, the animals and the plants that are there. And we certainly look forward to its continued development so that we can bring some economic stability to this part of our territory and work along people with you, like you, and sort of make a success. And I don't think it's that easy, but I think if everyone pulls together and we're supportive, but also be very aware of the kind of effects that the development can take place on the land and on the animals, I think we should be able to go forward. So again, thank you for inviting me. And I look forward to continued participating on behalf of the Seam First Nation in this project. So, Cook's Jam, thank you.
Thank you, Chief Matthew. I'd like to add to my introductions Councillor Owen Torgerson and also Andrew Young from the Planning Department. We also have a representative from the Regional District of Fraser Fort George, and they are undertaking an official community plan amendment as part of this process and bylaw development. There will be an OCP public hearing on April 6th, so it's coming up. Stay tuned for details. We have Danielle Allen here on behalf of the Regional District of Fraser Fort George. But I'd like to say just thank you all for coming tonight. The public consultation component of our master plan review process is a really important component, and it's one I particularly enjoy because you get to meet people that have these projects, these proposals in their backyards, and you get to understand the community and the potential implications of a major resort proposal like this. So the feedback that you give us is important. It forms part of the public record. So please do take a public comment form and submit it. There's a white box back there, or send us an email. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my two colleagues. First of all, Drew Freimeyer, and he'll start a slideshow presentation, and then Reg will take over. And then after that, we will turn it over to, actually, before we get there, sorry, Owen. I'd like to actually invite the Village of Valemount Councillor Owen Torgerson to share some words with us. I got ahead of myself.
It's okay. Oh, packed house. That's good. Public engagement is key to a success of a project of this magnitude. On behalf of Mayor Townsend and the Village Council, I wish to welcome our guests tonight from the Mountain Resources Branch and Job Skills and Skills Training, as well as Chief Matthew from the Simp First Nation. I'm very pleased to tell everyone here tonight that the Village of Valemount, in its strategic priorities, supports the Valemount Glacier destination resort project for many reasons. It's a project design that's environmentally sensitive with a small resource base footprint. It has many social economic benefits as well. Key to this success is the support of the Sink First Nation. And that what's rare in a project of this size is it's being funded through investment on a domestic front. It's within the confines of our borders. So it's rare that something like this can go ahead with on the Canadian dollar. Finally, I wish to thank Mr. Alberti and his team. Due to his commitment to work collaboratively with both councils of the Sink First Nation, the Village of Valemount, and all local stakeholders, having open houses like this from them, on behalf of the province, and really engaging the public. So take it all in, let it soak in, raise your questions, your comments, and be on record. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Owen. I'd just like to give Mr. Tom Alberti an opportunity to share a few words.
Thanks, Bill. I just want to say thank you. Bill acknowledged everybody who's here, but thank you especially to you, the people of Valemount. This has been a fairly long process. We've worked very hard to bring it to a conclusion. As you may have seen on the board there, we responded to over 179 comments from the province and from other governmental agencies. We've responded to over 60 stakeholder comments. We've made a lot of small refinements to the plan, and we've tried to push Bill as hard as we could to end the review process. I want to actually thank the Mountain Resorts branch. They've been incredible. They're unbelievably thorough. They work long hours for these projects, and we're very grateful to work with such a good team in government. Most importantly, this project would not have happened without the cooperation of the SIMP. From day one, they provided not just a cooperative relationship, but also guidance. I'm not sure if you remember, but the journey began with an intention to do something on Mount Alberta, and the SIMP provided some sage guidance in the sense that they recommended that we talk to Mike Weegley. Long story short, we felt that the Premier Range was a better solution. And which brings me also to the work of Phidias and my father, who in the 90s did a study to locate the best locations for ski resorts, and the Premier Range was one of the locations. And I also want to thank my father for his unbelievable vision he has in bringing this kind of tourism experience to North America. He has incredible drive and certainly leads our team. I also want to thank the council and the regional district. Their support has been instrumental to this project. We're at, as I mentioned to somebody earlier, we see a big light at the end of the tunnel now, and it's not a train. We're hoping to complete the process in a matter of weeks, and yeah. And I should note, for clarity, that we were pushing a December 2016 opening date for a long time on this project. We were pushing it because we needed to have a goalpost that, quite frankly, the province could work with us to achieve, and to drive the process. The process is complicated. It's long. It's if you don't drive it as a proponent, it can get lost. Unfortunately, we're about 3 months behind the original schedule, which has an exponential impact on the construction schedule. So we've refined our our ultimate goal to open to December 2017. But the way we see the process completing in the next few months will allow us to go through the permitting process and start work this summer. It does buy us some time. And there's technical reasons why that's beneficial to the project. But to be 1 year behind on a project of this type from the original timeline is actually fairly remarkable. Many projects like this one, end up decades behind. So we feel that we're thankful to the province again for working with us and working with a very very passionate crew, which is us, to complete the process. Anyway, I'm rambling on here, but I'll pass the mic back to Mountain Resorts Branch, and don't forget to add your comments and maybe gently encourage the province to complete the master development agreement after they've completed the master plan process. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And with that, I'll turn it over to my friend and colleague, Drew Freimeyer.
Thanks, Bill. Good evening, everyone. Great to see a great crowd out again. Bill, could you flip those as we go? So I'm going to give you just a quick overview of who we are and what we do. And I don't want to read this word for word, but we're a very unique branch of the provincial government, the Mountain Resort Branch, and we belong to the Ministry of Forests, Lands, and Natural Resource Operations. Our sole purpose is really is leading master plan reviews for new resort proposals and for expansions of existing resorts. We also administer land and timber tenures, and those tenures are administered in what we refer to as a controlled recreation area, which is the boundary of the resort operations. Well, we're also responsible for monitoring and compliance with the Master Development Agreement, and so commitments that are that the province and that the proponent have made are actually managed and administered in what we refer to as a Master Development Agreement. So the next slide here just shows some key principles on which we operate. So one of the biggest ones is all day lodges, lifts, runs, parking lots, the infrastructure that's required to operate the lift mechanisms, they're all retained under Crown land ownership, and they're tenured under a right-of-way or a lease agreement. The controlled phased development of the project is actually tied to the master plan and enforced through the Master Development Agreement. One of the biggest features that people ask us about is this idea of, perform and reward. Are you going to approve this project and allow them to go straight to real estate development? No, the answer is they need to build in the recreational lift infrastructure before the province would actually start selling and releasing baselands. The next slide just covers an overview of the Master Development Agreement. So the Master Development Agreement is actually the legal document between the province and the developer. It's a 60-year term, and it's a term that is really envied by a lot of other jurisdictions around the world. It gives security on a long-term basis. The MDA actually gives life to the master plan. The master plan review is what we're currently completing right now. And so the MDA actually is the implementation tool for the master plan. The Master Development Agreement ensures development in a phased approach consistent with the master plan. So for example, you'd be looking at putting in a first phase of lifts, and that would go through before you'd move on to other components of the project. Some of the examples that you'd see in the master plan commitments are environmental plans, sedimentation control, wildlife assessments, and water quality. There's a geotech analysis component, avalanche hazards and safety, as well as traffic studies, affordable housing strategy, and others. So that gives you just a quick overview. I'm going to turn over the mic to my colleague Reg, and he's going to talk about some forest management issues.
Thank you, Drew. Getting more specific about the project, I guess, the province and the proponent as well recognize that forestry is a really vital part of the local economy regionally. So they came up with a more innovative approach to integrate forestry and the resort development values together. As most of you know, the Valemount Community Forest has a forest tenure over the project area. So they decided to integrate those two activities on the land, and they have entered into a memorandum of understanding which will help guide how they're going to coexist on the land together. That's not typical to most projects that we work on across the province because often the mandates conflict with each other. But really strong will on the community's half, community forest, and the proponent, so we really think that this is going to be a good solution. Having said that, the Resort Timber Administration Act is a tool that we use for most resort development projects. And basically what it is, it's a piece of legislation that designates the controlled recreation area as under the Resort Timber Administration Act. And that allows the proponent the ability to apply for cutting authorities through our branch. So he has the right just to meet his development plan, basically. So if the community forest didn't want to or have an economic cut block, they didn't have the log it, the proponent could actually apply under a tenure and cut it himself. So it kind of safeguards the proponent as well as provides opportunity for the community forest. Just go back, Bill, one sec. A couple other things that are in the master plan regarding forestry are things such as fire protection, commitments to build to fire smart principles. There's also things for old growth management strategies in terms of mitigation, forest health, those types of issues. Thanks, Bill. So this slide is sort of a summary of what this public consultation is all about. It's been ongoing for some time, and it's still ongoing. I guess this is the provincial last public open house, so we're getting towards the end. So we've listened to the concerns from the public, as has the proponent, and we've looked at all the the themes that came out of that, such as the social, the technical, the environmental. So between the province and the proponent coming up with mitigation strategies to help alleviate those issues. For example, the CRA boundary adjustment often decreases a lot of the impacts, as well as feasibility studies and those types of things. So next is the final master plan comes in. It comes in as revised, so it covers up all the changes that were basically done to mitigate any of the concerns from the public. And then that carries into the master development agreement, which will have legal commitments contractually, so those commitments to be followed. This slide shows where we've been and where we're going, sort of. Back in October of 2015, the master plan was submitted for review. In the fall, there was a lot of technical analysis and review going on, engagement with First Nations and stakeholders and the public as well. And then as we got into the December and the New Year, we started getting down to fleshing out the real issues that are coming out of all these reviews and coming up with mitigation strategies. And here we are tonight in March having our final public open house, and which will lead us to, I guess, the next steps, which will be a master plan decision followed by a master development agreement decision. So that's really all we had to present tonight. I know it's short and brief. We'll leave you with some contact information. Our Amanda Aldridge is the newest member of our team, but she couldn't make it here tonight. So yeah, we look forward to having good discussions around the table tonight. Thank you very much.
And once again, just thank you very much for coming tonight. Do take in all the visuals, the information on the posters, and grab one of us. And if you have questions, please feel free to ask us any questions that come to mind. But we really appreciate you guys attending tonight again, and we are getting to decision points in the coming months. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much.